Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put on the front wheels using those axle bolts and the two wheels we just took out of the box. Okay? Now, the boxes say R and L on them for right and left, but this hub is really independent. It doesn't matter whether this is on the right or the left side. To attach the front wheels, this is when you'll need one tool that we don't have in the toolkit, and that's a 19mm socket. This is also equivalent to a 3/4 inch socket, so either one will work for this. All right? Now, take an axle and one nut and your blade again. And you'll notice that there's a wire tie or a zip tie that holds this whole apparatus together here. We're going to take that off right there. And that'll give us access to this hub. Now, the hub with the brake pads on it has a spacer in here. Make sure that spacer is there and it's oriented the way it should be, which is it's got a little sleeve on it and it pushes to the inside. I'm going to push it out so I can show you this real fast. Yeah, there it is. Okay, that's the spacer that goes, and that's why that zip tie was around there, is hold this spacer on. That little detent right there has to be inserted into this brake plate of the hub. Okay, this then pushes on the bearings in the hubs right there on the inner race and keeps this moving very smoothly. All right, now what I want you to do first is I want you to line this up. Now this hub can pivot back and forth on this bolt right here on this plate. Okay, I'm going to take this combination wrench and I'm going to locate the hole right here that fits this nut right there, and I'm going to loosen that just a little bit. To give myself a little bit of play in this, okay, so I can move it easily. They tighten it during the assembly, but you can loosen it. Now make sure that this can start in the hole. There it goes. Now that we have it all set, we're going to go ahead and take the axle back out again. Leave your spacer there. Now, slide your hub over top the brakes and start screwing it in. Okay. Here's where your 19mm socket or 3/4 inch socket comes in. We put the axle through the steering knuckle. The threads are now protruding out the inside of that knuckle. Now we're going to take this nut, also a 19mm nut that's got a nylon lock on it. We put that on the back side of that. Screw it on using your ratchet, your socket again. Make sure your wheel spins. If it starts to slow down too much, you've tightened against the bearings a little too much, you can back off about 1/4 of a turn and it spins freely. All right? Now, we loosened this little screw up here at the top of the bracket. We're going to tighten that now with this wrench and the little hole that fits that. I think it's a 10mm. Okay, one wheel is complete. Okay, so now we're going to repeat the same process on the right side. We need the axle and the axle nut and bolt and the hub, and we're going to insert it on this side. First thing we have to do is use our utility knife and cut off the zip tie that secures that hub spacer. I'm going to take my wrench here and I'm going to loosen this bracket screw right there so I have a little bit of play. Easily moves that back and forth. I'm going to make sure that I can line up the axle with the hole and start screwing it in. There it goes, starting to screw in. All right, so it's all ready to go. Pull this out. And now we're going to insert this through the spacer into that spot and start screwing it into the steering knuckle. Okay, I started it by fingers. Now I'm going to use my wrench. And finish screwing that all the way in. And as I screw this in, you'll see the hub move on top of the brake pads right there. And begin to see the axle coming through the steering knuckle right there. It's a large number of threads to make this very secure, so it takes a little while to get this on. And snug that on. Now we're going to take that 19mm lock nut and put that on the inside. Again, use your socket to finish the job and put that one all the way on. All right. Check and see if your wheel spins freely. A little tight. So we're going to back off on the outside. About a quarter turn or so. Yeah, okay. All right, that's pretty good. All right, so we got the two front wheels attached. Rear wheels attached.